Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday. Thanks for tuning in. And if you are tuning in after the last live, thanks for watching that one too. I put the hat on. I feel like it's a hat day. It's Sunday. I'm Anjanette Levy, and we are now talking about the Bryan Kohberger case. Remember to like and subscribe, thumbs up, all of that good stuff. Jump in the chat. Tell me what you think about the channel, anything you would like to hear me talk about. And spread the word. So I've got a little channel here and I'm trying to make it bigger and better. We have a lot to talk about, a lot to talk about. I feel like they are killing a mini forest in this case with all of the paper that is being filed. So thank goodness for computers, right? So we're not hurting too many trees out there, but there is a lot of paper flying around in this case. And let me tell you, the defense is big mad. They are big mad about a lot of things in this case. And they are big mad at the state. And one of the things they are big mad about, let me tell you, I can't wait to tell you about it. They are big mad about the selfie. Big mad about the selfie. So I was going to pull it up for you. Here it is. They are furious about the selfie. I was reading all of this stuff the other day when it dropped. It dropped on, I think it was Wednesday. It was in the mid-afternoon. And I was reading all of this stuff that they wrote. And literally, I felt like I could feel them yelling at me through the paper. Alyssa Masseth, I felt like is just yelling at her computer as she's typing. That's how mad she is. So they are not happy with the state at all. They're also really mad. I'm talking about fighting words here from Cy, their cell phone guy. They are furious. They're saying that the state is holding back advanced timing records from AT&T from Bryan Kohberger's phone. I don't know if that's true based on what I'm reading, but this is what Cy, the defense's cell phone guy, is saying. It's amazing. So he is calling out the prosecutors big time and in an affidavit that we'll get to later. So I'll go through a lot of this. We may not get to all of it today. So we may have to kind of regroup because there's been so much that's been filed and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing what has been filed in this case. But I do want to go over some of the really interesting things that have been filed. There's been a lot. So let's get to the selfie. I'm going to pull this up and it's pretty interesting. I think you guys are going to find this really interesting, what the defense said about the selfie. They say this is really prejudicial and they're really mad about it. And they're not happy that it was placed into the motion or whatever. They're saying it's prejudicial, shouldn't be allowed. And I think we do need to know more about the selfie and the context around it. You know, the state says this was taken at 10:31 a.m. on November 13th, 2022. So that would have been just after 6 hours, just 6 hours after the homicides were committed, according to the state's timeline. And he's in the bathroom, presumably of his apartment. And you can see right there, looks like a shower curtain right there. And he's giving the thumbs up. And he's got these like earbud, they're not AirPods, that there's some kind of like headphones in. And there's the shower curtain. A lot of people were saying, oh, there's no shower curtain. Look, there's no shower curtain. I mean, that looks like a shower curtain to me. And yeah, we don't know if he sent this to anybody. We don't know if he was going somewhere. What I do find interesting, though, is that this is the same shirt that he is wearing it's buttoned all the way up. I don't know if Bryan Kohberger was like the kind of guy who would often button his shirts all the way up and wear them like that. I always feel like that looks so uncomfortable when I see shirts like that. But this is the same shirt that he was wearing in this Instagram profile that a lot of people say is fake. Like the day of his arrest on December 30th, 2022. When I first got his name, I went online and I started looking around. I've got the video on my phone. I screen recorded it on my phone. And I looked up, and it was Bryan Christopher Kohberger was the name on Instagram. And the account followed some people with the last name Kohberger, followed Washington State University, Cougars or whatever, and also followed Kaylee and Maddie. And he was wearing this shirt, but with a tie. So I'm like, it's just making me think, did he go somewhere after this and like take this picture and then put a tie on? Because like, I know it's not too often you see guys wearing their shirts buttoned all the way up like that, unless they have a tie on. So I think personally, we need to know more about this selfie and what else was going on the phone. And I'm sure they've got that because they had to have had like some cell phone person with Celebrate do an extraction or whatever. Remember, like and subscribe, all that good stuff, and tell all your friends. And I appreciate you watching, and watch on replay too. If you're watching on replay, thank you very much. I meant to get on here sooner, and I told people on the last live this as well. I've been a little under the weather, which really stinks. So I wasn't able to get on here sooner to talk to you guys. I wasn't going to do that to you all, like listening to me with my horrible hoarse, frog voice. So yeah, it was bad. So let's get to the part where the defense is big mad, as I said, about this selfie. Here. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to share my screen and it's not pulling up the right thing. Share screen. Oh, sorry. Here it is. Okay, guys. So here it is. To make matters even more prejudicial, I'm just going to say what they're saying here. The state wants to admit into evidence a picture of Mr. Kohberger as if DM identified him in the photo. This is how wrongful convictions occur. Because remember, DM, the surviving roommate, she could not identify Bryan Kohberger. She said straight up, she couldn't do a sketch before he was arrested. After he was arrested, the cops asked her, she said she saw his mugshot on the internet and she did not recognize him. The photo of, and they say this is how wrongful convictions occur. The photo of Mr. Kohberger that the state attached to its response is not relevant and is overly prejudicial. This is akin to the state trying to identify Mr. Kohberger for DM or create its own corroboration for her. DM previously said she couldn't identify him. There are literally millions of people in the world who might be described as having bushy eyebrows. The term itself is subjective, and DM has a fascination with drawing eyes and eyebrows. So then they go on to say the state contends that DM's statements are independently reliable as law enforcement did not employ a witness identification procedure. Mr. Kohberger is not suggesting that DM's descriptive words were developed in conjunction with a lineup. DM was interviewed 5 times. Law enforcement was involved with each interview. According to the state, DM's multiple descriptions of the intruder were based on her own recollection and were not the result of suggestive identification procedures employed by law enforcement. Mr. Kohberger points the court to the following instances, which are suggestive. And they go through these instances where they say, in the second interview on November 13th, she was interviewed at the police department. Mallory, the detective, inquired about facial features and asked if she knew what color the intruder's eyebrows were. So they're saying, oh, he was the first one who brought up eyebrows. And so he's the person who mentioned that facial feature first, according to the defense. And then in the third interview on November 17th, DM was interviewed by Detective Gooch, who asked DM if she knew what a balaclava was. Because remember, she said, DM said it was like a weird ski mask that she saw. And she showed her a picture of a balaclava. In the fourth interview, DM drew the mask for the interviewer. So here's the mask. So here's the mask that DM drew. Now, obviously, this is sideways. Imagine it flipped, you know. So it would have been flipped the other way. So in this same batch of documents, we also learned the state said that Bryan Kohberger in January of 2022 bought a black balaclava from Dick's Sporting Goods. So everybody's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, he owned a black balaclava. I am just kind of like, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure. First of all, I think we need to know, okay, does he still have the balaclava? And he bought it in January 2022. He was living in Pennsylvania still. It's cold there in the winter. And he was a runner. So, you know, the state will say this is a corroborating piece of evidence. This backs up DM's statement. And we talked about this a week and a half ago or so. On here, I pulled up a picture of the balaclava, remember? But I pulled up an Under Armour one. Some people took some issue with that in some of the comments. But they said he bought Under Armour stuff too. We still don't know what brand. Well, I did some shopping. I did some more shopping, guys. Sorry, my dog keeps opening my door. So I went to Dick's and I just got the regular Dick's Sporting Goods store brand balaclava. So this is how it came. I ordered it online, Levy. So this is it. So it says you can wear it. You can wear it many different ways. You can wear it as a balaclava. You can wear it as a hood, a face mask, or a gaiter. So this is like a multi-use balaclava. So should I open it? Do you guys want to see the balaclava out of the bag? I think you do. So I'm going to open it. So here it is. And we don't know if this is the brand, but it could be Under Armour. So Holly says put it on. I don't know. Somebody last time I was talking about this, and I was doing like the little thing where I was like saying like, okay, it would have been like this, and somebody was like posting screen grabs of me doing that where I was showing like what he would have looked like, you know. So here's how it came. I'm not convinced. Like, I don't know how many people wear these, first of all, and they say that Bryan Kohberger was a nighttime runner. Hi, Salty Sleuth. They say that Bryan Kohberger was a nighttime runner. So wearing this at night, I'd be like, you better be careful running at night with something like this on because it's dark. You would want to be wearing like reflective clothing, I would think. And when I say nighttime runner, I mean like it sounds like he was in the middle of the night. And I remember when I was at his apartment building, I talked to the lady who lived right below him. And she said that he would be up in the middle of the night. She has young children. He'd be up in the middle of the night vacuuming and stuff and cleaning. So she said he was like always up late at night. So, I mean, the guy's like nocturnal. Like, I just can't even imagine going to school the next morning and being up so late. So here it is. As I said, balaclava, hood, face mask, gaiter. So here it is. Well, Idiot Wind, just so you know, that's what the account said. A lot of people think that account, we don't know. We've never had verification from law enforcement that he actually followed them, that this was his account. A lot of people say it was fake. So we don't know if that was a legit account. I want to make that clear, that Instagram. But I do have a screen recording of everything I found on that account. And there was only one post on that Instagram account, and it was of a video. It was kind of a violent video. So we don't know if that was a legit account or if somebody got his name and created a fake account. So we just don't know. So here is the balaclava. Okay, and let's put this back up. So here's the balaclava. I was just saying that the shirt on the Instagram profile pic, it's this exact same shirt that he was wearing, but he had a tie on. So I'm like, was that taken that same day? I don't know. Okay. So here's the balaclava. And I guess I will put it on. I really don't want to put this on, but I will put it on. It's one size fits all. And I'm going to put my glasses on because I can't see. But I'll put it on without this. So and remember, she said it was like a weird ski mask. So if you were going to see eyebrows, it would have to be like up, right? And then there's your mouth. And so there you have it. Silly Billy says, I think I heard he could run a mile in 6 minutes. Is that kind of fast? So we had good coordination. Yeah, his Strava app data, I have a screen grab of that. He did. It said it's around 6 minutes. It's on my laptop somewhere. So, I mean, I don't really want screen grabs of me all over the internet, like wearing this thing, but that's what it looks like. So, does he have this still? It does not, him owning this does not make him a murderer. I want to be clear about that. So, but this is just like this is going to be a piece of the puzzle. The prosecution is going to present their case, and they're going to say, this is what prosecutors do. They present these this is a circumstantial evidence case. You have an eyewitness in this case, but she can't identify the perpetrator. She just says there was a guy in all black wearing a weird ski mask kind of thing. And they're going to say, thank you, the docket. The docket just gave me a super chat, and that was very sweet, for $5. He says to help buying the props. That is very sweet. Thank you very much. That's very sweet. I appreciate that. So that's very kind. So yeah, we have to have a prop budget here on Live with Anjanette. So that's really nice. But anyway, this is going to be a piece of the puzzle, and it may be a very small piece of the puzzle. And we need to know, did they find this when they did search warrants? Does he still have it? And he bought it in January. That's my thing. Like, and it's cold. I mean, I had to get this off me, actually. It's kind of like got a fleecy lining, if this is even the same kind. I mean, this one's $20 and the Under Armour one's $32. I would go with the Dick's Sporting Goods one, just as good. So there you have it. Anyway, so the state is going to say this is a jigsaw puzzle. This is, piece of the puzzle. And that's what this is what circumstantial cases are. Um, they're puzzle pieces. And when you put the puzzle together, it gives you the picture of what happened and who did it. And, you may not have every piece, but we basically have all these pieces that will show you this is the person. So they're going to say the DNA on the knife sheath, the Amazon purchase, the balaclava, the all black clothing, the car, which the defense is going to say, I think they're going to say that there was another white car running around Moscow at that time. And that's why they care so much about these advanced timing records, which we'll get to in a little bit, because I'm still kind of researching that whole issue. But the defense is going to counter and say, there's reasonable doubt. He was a runner. Yeah, he might have bought one of these things. It's cold in Pennsylvania and he runs at night. Of course he had one of these things, and maybe he lost it. Maybe he doesn't have it anymore if it wasn't recovered. We don't know. Just because he owns this doesn't mean that he did this. Also, they're going to say DM was hammered. They say how much she told the prosecutors how much she drank. So let's go back to the document. I'll show you what they said she drank. Sorry, guys, I'm going there right now. It says that I'm sharing my screen when I'm not. Here we go. So DM had a lot to drink. Like if I had this much to drink, I would probably be either like sleeping with my head, like I would be like this on the toilet. And she said she was very drunk, or I'd be like in the ER needing an IV. I wouldn't even be able to handle this. I'm getting there, guys. I promise. Okay, now I can't find it. Anyway, she said she had a ton. Oh, here it is. It's right there, staring me in the face. Sorry. On Saturday, November 12th, through the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th, DM had consumed champagne, 9 to 10 seltzers, White Claws with 5% alcohol, Borg, a concoction of hard alcohol, water, and flavoring in a big plastic jug, an unknown amount of alcohol while participating in a drinking game. This footnote just recites the alcohol consumed in an approximate 24-hour period and does not include alcohol consumed in the immediate days prior to November 12th, 2022. So they're saying, and DM already said she was very drunk and very sleepy. But I'll just translate that. The defense is saying she was hammered. So they're saying she was hammered. You can't trust anything she said. So Beautiful Messy Ball says, if someone is a runner and wears a balaclava running or for cold weather workouts, they likely have more than one because they probably get gross pretty quickly and need washing often. Yeah, I would think so. And it's my understanding he ran a lot. So, yeah. Liar Slayer says she drank the normal amount for college kids. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Like, that's a lot. I guess that's normal, but I don't know if it is or not. Trilly Fly says, even if he gets acquitted, the media has ruined his life. Webby says, throwing pasta at the wall is all the defense is doing. Silly Billy says, and she thought Z was in all black. Xana, here's what so what happened with that is that BF and DM talked on the phone. And BF and DM talked on the phone. And I think Bethany is the one that said Xana was wearing all black. And they had two like brief phone conversations. And I think that just reading between the lines, Dylan must have said to Bethany, like the guy was wearing all black. The guy was in all black. There's a guy in the house wearing all black. Because then Bethany in the text message says, Xana was wearing all black. Like she's trying to calm her down and saying, well, Xana was wearing black. Like you must have seen Xana. And she's like saying, no, it was a guy. It was a man in all black. So I think that's what that came from. Salty Sleuth Investigates says PA search warrant. In the Pennsylvania search warrant, they said they recovered clothes. And I'm going to have to go back and look at it to see if they were black clothes, but they said they were clothes. They also, in that warrant return, said they recovered a knife. It didn't specify what kind. They took a gun, a handgun, and a Taylor knife and sheath. So there was another knife with a sheath that they recovered. So yeah. Yeah, Webby says they were black clothes. Okay, so they did recover black clothes. So, and I don't know, maybe that's the Under Armour clothes. I don't know. Harlot Oscara says, the interesting thing that I noticed was the first contact. Here, let me put these. I always forget I can put your comments up on the screen. The interesting thing that I noticed was the first contact was actually BF to DM. Right. She called her. So it's like, did she hear something? Why else would she call? And if she did hear something, what was it? Because she was on the first floor. So did she hear the 417 thud that was picked up by the camera next door? I wonder if she heard that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't finish reading your comment. Exactly. Steve W says, is this a hater channel? I certainly don't think so. Not at all. SS says he is right-handed. That's his left hand. The buttons on his shirt are the way they'd be in a selfie pic. Oops, I cropped my pants says, put the selfie back up. Okay. Here, let me take down your comment. Yeah, that's his left hand. And I don't know anything what you're saying about the buttons. I mean, the buttons are the buttons. Beautiful Messy Ball says BF's room was directly below Xana's room. Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. Maybe that's why she called, was that she heard commotion or the noise up in that room, and then she calls DM because she heard a noise and she didn't know what it was. I mean, it would make sense. Oh, okay. CH says that it was on the other side of the house, but still, if it was loud enough, she could have heard it. Okay. Okay, Salty Sleuth says the empty room was under Xana. I'm just reading your comments. All right. We'll get that worked out where the room was. But anyway, I mean, if it was a loud enough noise, you could hear it even if you weren't right under the room. Okay. So guys, let's go now to the big controversy. Ann Taylor, in one of her responses, she kind of dropped some information about what the FBI cell phone expert is going to testify to. And that kind of leads to a lot of the back and forth and the controversy over the cell phone records and the advanced timing records that she wants. And this whole thing about Cyray's affidavit. So she's really mad. Well, Cyray's upset too. They feel like the state is withholding evidence from them that they need to prepare for trial. They feel like Agent Balance has prepared this report and testimony and not given them his methodology and how he's going to testify to these facts that he's going to testify to. And so let's pull up what Ann Taylor said. It is kind of like funny, like Ann Taylor has, Ann Taylor, the defense attorney, Ann Taylor, the store where they sell women's clothes. It's kind of funny. We have some of the some funny names. Judge, he's no longer on the case, but it's just kind of funny in this case. This is going to be in her stuff about the vague expert testimony. Remember, guys, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you're watching on replay, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. So Ann Taylor disclosed some stuff about what some of the state's experts are supposed to testify to at trial, and it was pretty interesting. I was a little surprised that she put this in there, but at the same time, I wasn't completely surprised. And I'll pull this up right here for you. Because the cell phone stuff is going to be hotly contested. And Cy Ray is the expert for Ann Taylor. Here, sorry guys, I'm pulling it up for you. Because this was like buried at the bottom of the defense motion or defense reply. Here we go. So she's saying there was a supplemental disclosure on March 3rd of 2025. This disclosure advises the court and counsel that Special Agent Balance plans to testify by summary from various AT&T documents and utilize his own created summary as exhibits in place of the actual record. The state has not supplied such documents unless it is the PowerPoint. If that is the case, these documents are data that are the result of an undisclosed analysis and interpretation of the data. The disclosure advises that Special Agent Balance will testify as follows. Page 13 depicts cellular phone usage by the 8458 phone on November 13th, 2022, and Balance is expected to testify that the 8458 phone interacted with the AT&T network at 2:47 a.m. This is before the state claims he turned off the phone. The phone was not at the Bryan Kohberger residence, marked BK on the map. Rather, it was southeast of the Bryan Kohberger residence. Balance is also expected to testify that he analyzed additional handoff data that occurred during this data session and that the 8458 phone stopped communicating with the network at 2:54:45. So the state has not disclosed an analysis or where SA Balance, Special Agent Balance, will claim the phone was located. These are the 7 critical minutes that contain exculpatory evidence. So they're saying that period of time, 2:47 to 2:54, that time period contains exculpatory evidence. So it says page 28 shows a map that includes 1122 King Road, represented by the CS icon and a yellow circle that represents a 100-meter radius around the crime scene. Balance will explain that he conducted analysis of all the cell sites in the area that provided coverage to the crime scene and identified any cell sites that drive test data showed coverage that included this 100-meter radius around the crime scene, the state has not disclosed the analysis. So she's saying they did all this analysis and they haven't given us the information for how they reached this analysis, this conclusion. Pages 29 and 30 represent any time that 8458 phone utilized a cell site identified as part of page 28 between the hours of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. There are 23 separate instances between July 9th to November 7th, 2022. Balance will testify that the 8458 phone used cell sites consistent with being at the crime scene during these dates and times. So they're saying that 23 separate times between July 9th, 2022 and November 7th, 2022. That's like an almost 4-month period of time that Bryan Kohberger's phone was within 100 meters of the 1122 King Road house between the hours of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. Balance will further testify that the hours between 10 and 4 were identified by the investigative team as times of interest. The state has not disclosed its analysis in its 2/17/25 disclosure. So they're saying 100 meters, like think about that. If you ever ran high school track, a loop around the track is 400 meters. So 100-meter dash, it's like one length of the track. So they're saying he was within 100 meters of the house on 23 separate occasions between July 9th, 2022 and November 7th, which was 6 days before the homicides. Well, why? And how did they know that? And then she wants to know how they made that determination. And she's saying they don't have the information for that. What I do find interesting, that July 9th date, I mean, he had already moved to Washington. So we know that. We know that because he got his driver's license on July 1st, 2022. So they're saying within 8 days of getting his Washington driver's license, he was going around this house. But how close was he to the house? We don't know. So I'm kind of like, they would have downloaded his phone. They would have had Celebrate data, right? So where is the Celebrate data? Because wouldn't you use that with this cell phone analysis to make these determinations? Because there's GPS on these cell phones these days. They can tell a lot of what you're doing. So where, and I remember Ann Taylor specifically during one of these hearings in January, because I used the soundbite on Crime Fix, my podcast on law and crime. She said he went to Moscow, he was there, but he was never stationary around that house. And she said the cell phone data shows that. So she says he was never stationary around the house. So what was he doing? And we already knew he was a night owl. So I'm going to go look at your comments. Jeff C says, love the mask demo. Can you show us how the sheath loop was broken off his belt holster in order to fall under the covers? Thanks. I don't think that it broke. I really don't. I don't think the sheath broke at all. I don't. And I don't think that it was, let me grab the sheath. It's here somewhere. I'm grabbing the sheath. Only I could misplace a sheath. Okay. So here's the sheath. I don't think that the sheath broke. This thing, there's no way this is breaking. This is leather. So here. This thing is leather. There is no way this is breaking. Because, like, here's the snap. The snap goes, I've never snapped it before. So the snap goes around the knife, right? So that holds the knife. Let's just act like my hairbrush is the knife handle. Okay. That's where that goes. The sheath goes, the belt goes through here. There's no way this is breaking. Oh, my little sticker came off. All that little sticker says, in case anybody was wondering, it says sheath made in Mexico. There's no kind of like serial number or anything like that on here. So the belt goes through the sheath loop thing here. So there's no way that's breaking. So one of my theories on this, and I could be dead wrong. I hate to use that terminology. That was a bad term to use in a homicide case. I could be wrong. My theory has always been that maybe this was carried in hand upstairs. And my theory, one of my other theories has always been that, let's say it was worn on a belt, or if you're wearing let's say you're wearing all black clothing. We don't know what type of clothing it was, but if you're wearing all black clothing that is made to move nimbly, and let's say, it's not heavy black clothing or whatever, you may not have a belt loop. You may not have a place for a belt on it. So maybe you carried it up in the sheath. And one of my theories has always been in this case that potentially that this was a sexually motivated crime, and that there was one intended target, and that maybe the person who committed this crime carried this upstairs with the weapon, and the weapon was meant to intimidate in part, and that possibly the sheath was placed down, because if you don't have a belt to hold the sheath, where else are you going to put it? And if sexual assault was part of the plan, then possibly this ended up on the bed. And if you're using a knife in part to intimidate somebody, to keep somebody silenced, then maybe there was a sexual assault intended as part of this. And if there's a second person in the bed who you're not expecting and you're surprised by, that makes your plan go very wrong, even though the whole thing's wrong anyway. And it doesn't matter. I'm talking about, this is not about Bryan Kohberger. It's talking about the crime in general. And, he will have a trial, and evidence will be presented to determine if he is indeed guilty or not guilty. I'm talking about how I've always viewed this, based on somebody entering that home and going up to the third floor of that house. And also based on the fact that when I've been to the house, you're up in that parking lot, and Maddie's boots are right there. The pink boots are right there, as is the M in her bedroom window. And you can see straight into the bedroom. So, it's anybody who was fixated on her had a bird's eye view. So, I would like to know, how they determined that there was this 100 meters, because we could pull up a map and I guess stretch out 100 meters and see how far that is. I'm no map guru. I know some people are really, really good at that. So I'll try it really fast. 1122 King Road. But she's saying, Ann Taylor's saying he was never stationary at that house. And that the cell phone records show that. Is that according to Cy or is that according to the FBI, or both? I don't know. So I'm going to say, okay, so I'm at 1122 King Road. Let's see, 100 meters. I don't even know if you can do that on Google Maps. 100 meters. 100 meters west. So I don't know. And did he know anybody at the Queen Road apartment complex next door? I have no idea. So they're saying he was within a 100-meter radius of the crime scene 23 times between July 9th and November 7th. I'd like to know how long of a period of time they're saying he was there. I don't know. So let's look. Salty Sleuth said, I'm deep diving into the AT&T documents. Yes, I've been looking at those too. And I'm going to tell you, the Cy affidavit, I read that and I was kind of like, some of what he's talking about, I'm kind of like, he's basically saying there's another way that the FBI or somebody else can get these documents through this other mechanism. And he's aware of that. And he's saying the state has access to this stuff for Bryan Kohberger and they're just not handing it over. But let's go through that really quickly. The docket says, if they truly believe that and can prove it, they've wasted so much time on other spaghetti. Let's see. Von Dawson says coveralls don't have belt loops. He covered that knife in. Jonathan Clark says, if guilty and if target was Madison or Keeley, wonder what he's thinking sitting next to AT. Trilly Fly says 100 meters is not far. Right. And 23 is kind of a lot. Right. I was going to see if I could actually do the 100-meter radius and show you on a map, but I'm not that great with Google Maps. Let's see. I'm looking at all your comments. So basically, the defense, as far as these AT&T records go, they're saying that there's Trilly Fly says, Anjanette, with all your purchases, they might be coming for you next. Doubtful, but I mean, yeah. Don't talk. I mean, you shouldn't ever, don't talk to the cops without a lawyer. That's my piece of advice. Let's see. I'm looking at all your comments to make sure I'm not missing something. I'm curious how much wear and tear there was on the sheath. Yeah, I'm curious too, because all we know about as far as DNA on it, that there was single source male DNA on this, the one part of the snap, and then a blood mixture on the leather part. Can I slip my hand through the belt loop? I don't know if I can do my whole hand. Oh, I can. So, I mean, it's a sizable loop. Okay. Let's see. I'm looking through to make sure I don't miss anything. Oh, thanks so much, SS. That was very sweet of you. Thanks for the super chat. This is very nice. Let's see. I'm scrolling through, guys. I'm looking to make sure I didn't. Okay. Everything the state has against BK, AT wants tossed out. How about put an argument to disprove it? Probably because she can't disprove it. The sheath was a military type, right? This is from Iris Hewlett. It was K-Bar USMC is what it says. I ordered the exact same one they named in the probable cause affidavit. But somebody commented on my channel the other day, guys, in the comments that Bryan Kohberger's sheath didn't have the stamp on it, but I don't know where they got that. I don't know where they got that information. And I said, "Oh, can you verify that?" That would be a problem for the state, but they didn't respond to me and tell me, yes, indeed, I can verify that and tell you where I saw that because I've never read that. So Jeff C says blood DNA on sheath proven not to be BK's. Why not test unknown male BCD? What are they scared of? No, I think the blood mixture on the sheath, they haven't said, they just listed a blood mixture. It's probably belongs to the girls since the sheath was found under the covers, sort of, or however they've worded it. It's been worded a couple of different ways in the documents. So, okay, let's get to these AT&T timing advance records. Guys, there is so much in these documents that I'm telling you, there's so much I want to talk to you about that we may not get to all of it tonight. So we may have to come back. So Cyre filed this affidavit. And he says basically he's never seen anything in his 30 years of law enforcement that's so terrible. Let's see. Can you guys see that? Yeah, sorry. So let me take this down so you can, I'm not blocking the document. And again, guys, thank you so much for watching, like, subscribe. I really appreciate it. Tell all your friends. I really appreciate you watching. So the defense says there's a 7-minute window between 247 and 254. It's a critical 7-minute window that contains exculpatory evidence. And so the defense says this is very, very important. And exculpatory evidence, of course, if the prosecution has exculpatory evidence, they have to hand it over to the defense, and the state doesn't get to decide what's exculpatory and what's not. The defense decides what's exculpatory. So, in a case like this, it's usually best for the state to just be like, here it is. Here is everything. Here it is. Like, this is everything. Go through it, like open discovery, take it all. I mean, that's usually the best policy, because they don't get to decide. The defense gets to decide what's exculpatory and what's not, because they have to present a defense. So yeah, so that usually the state should just hand it all over. And there's been some back and forth about this. So the state believes there's a 7 minutes that's exculpatory. Or I'm sorry, the defense believes there's a 7-minute window of time that's exculpatory to Bryan Kohberger that helps his case. Ann Taylor said in a hearing, and don't think Judge Hippler that 7 minutes doesn't matter in this case. Okay. Right. So PKC is saying the sheath was later processed and had K-bar UMC. Yes, I know that. Like the one found at the scene. I'm talking about the one that Kohberger bought on Amazon. That his defense is now kind of still disputing whether or not he actually bought it or not. They said in a motion, yeah, just because it was his credit card and went to his address doesn't mean basically that he ordered it. So they're saying basically that's another nugget that came out this week. They're basically saying he the guy who commented on my thing the other day said that the one Kohberger ordered didn't have the stamp, the insignia on it. I don't know if that's true, but the defense in one of the other filings about the Amazon stuff is saying just because it was his credit card and went to his address doesn't mean it was for him. And they had also said that there was like this, there were many purchases over many months for some trip, and a number of things were ordered, including like bear spray and some other stuff. So it sounds like they're trying to say there was some kind of hiking trip or something where a number of items were ordered. So are they saying that somebody in the household ordered this K-bar, clicked on a bunch of stuff, bear spray, all these things, and ordered them over many months and used his credit card by mistake? I don't know. Okay, so Syray, we're all pulled up here. So he's saying timing advance records are maintained by cellular network providers that provide a time measurement. This time measurement refers to the amount of time it takes a radio signal to travel from a cell site to a mobile device and back to a cell site. Given this signal travels at a known constant speed of light, it is possible to use the measurement to determine the distance the mobile device is from a known cell site. Okay, so we're getting very sciencey here. Okay, when multiple cell sites record timing advance data in short periods of time, it's possible to use trilateration to determine the location of a mobile device. The use of timing advance data in this manner is one of the most accurate ways for law enforcement to locate a mobile device. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because some of this is just like too much. As a result of its accuracy, requesting timing advance data has become a standard practice for all law enforcement in the United States and is regularly requested through legal process relating to a criminal investigation. Okay, so now we're going to get to AT&T timing advance records because that's the carrier that Bryan Kohberger used. In August of 2021, Syray says he was approached by an FBI special agent to assist in analyzing a type of record set identified as AT&T timing advance reports. As of the year 2021, AT&T had not officially released a timing advance report to law enforcement. Therefore, the ZX software program did not yet support AT&T timing advance records. ZX is Syray's program that he developed. As a result of this interaction with the FBI, I obtained a copy of the timing advance report from the special agent and forwarded it to our software engineers to write code within the ZX system to support future uploads of this timing advance report format. The next day, I was informed by the special agent the AT&T timing advance report was not supposed to be released / viewed outside of the FBI, and that the individual requested I return the report and not have any software developed to support the data they had shown to me. I did return the report, however. Due to the interaction explained here, there is a paper trail documenting the facts of this interaction. So he's saying he has a paper, like I'm assuming these are emails where the agent was like, oh, you got to give that stuff back to me and don't write any code. It wasn't supposed to be released. So he says he has firsthand knowledge that AT&T was providing the FBI with timing advance reports prior to August of 2021. So I'm going to stop right there and tell you what the state had said already prior to this affidavit being filed. The state requested timing advance data back in November of 2022 when they were writing search warrants for when they requested a tower dump, for the cell towers, and even when they requested the first warrant on Bryan Kohberger's cell phone for the November 12th to November 14th time period back on December 23rd of 2022. The state says at that time in December of 2022 and even in November of 2022, AT&T was only able to provide or only kept the timing advance data for a 7-day period. So whatever day they requested, I think it was November 15th. I think if I'm misstating that, I apologize. But I think like on November 15th, they requested the tower dump for the cell towers. And so they were able to get, because they had requested within 7 days of the date they were looking for, they were able to get the timing advance data for all the phones, the 3,800 phones, from the tower dump, because it had been within 7 days. And that's the length of time they would keep that data back then. That has since changed, and now they keep that timing advance data for 13 months. So when they requested the warrant for Bryan Kohberger's phone on December 23rd, the state is claiming AT&T told them, well, we can't give you the timing advance data for that time period because we only hold it for 7 days from the date. So it wasn't available. But he's saying, well, I know that they can get it. So let's skip ahead. I have firsthand knowledge that there's another way. So he talked about this GLDC, this Global Legal Demand Center, as one way, but not the only way for law enforcement to obtain call detail records from AT&T. I have firsthand knowledge that there is, in bold, another way to obtain the call detail records from AT&T without going through GLDC. Over the course of many years, AT&T has had several different programs in partnership with federal law enforcement, primarily the FBI, that allowed for call detail records to be disseminated to the FBI without going through the standard GLDC process. The first AT&T timing report I was presented and had a chance to review and become familiar with in August of 2021 was obtained from AT&T through one of these programs, not through GLDC. So he's saying there's another way to do it, but he's not mentioning the 7-day window or the 13-month window. The state is correct in their claim that AT&T GLDC did not provide law enforcement with AT&T timing advance reports until May of 2023. As a matter of fact, in May of 2023, the working group known as GLDC had only begun their storage of timing advance records. The first official release of AT&T timing advance data was not provided to law enforcement until June 15th, 2023 by GLDC. In 2022, the FBI obtained AT&T timing advance records from another source outside of GLDC. So this is, again, he's saying another source. During the investigation, law enforcement obtained the following AT&T timing advance data. 2 of the victims had AT&T phones. Law enforcement obtained that data. Law enforcement developed an early investigative lead in the case. That person had an AT&T phone at the time of the crime. They got that data. But again, these may have been collected within that 7-day window. Law enforcement also requested a tower dump. There were over 3,800 AT&T mobile phones identified by the timing advance tower dump data. The AT&T timing advance data was obtained by the FBI using an internal source at AT&T, Mr. Boyd Jackson, who is not associated with the GLDC working group. So I'm assuming they're like, go call Boyd Jackson right now and get this stuff. So Boyd Jackson's associated with all this stuff. Some other guy did the certificate of authentication or whatever for this stuff, not this Boyd Jackson guy. So I'm going to skip ahead because there's a lot in here. He talks about the chain of custody and how this Stephen Gordon guy he's familiar with him. He's the one that did the certificate of authenticity on this stuff. He says he's familiar with him. But it doesn't sound like he thinks he's the one who should have been doing this thing, this certificate of authenticity. He's saying on 11/15/2022, Ashley Jennings received an email from Lawrence Mowry, the one detective in the case who does all the like warrants for like Amazon, AT&T, all the warrants for all the techie stuff. And he said to her, make sure the warrant talks about advanced timing information. The email is abundantly clear evidence that Mrs. Jennings was not only aware of the existence of timing advanced AT&T stuff in 2022, but also shows her intention to obtain it through the legal process. So he's saying basically she knows about it. She requested it. She wrote it into the affidavit for the search warrant or the warrant itself. So he's saying there's stuff missing. He says it's very unusual, incredibly unusual, that the defendant's timing advance records were not obtained by the FBI. The FBI demonstrated their ability to obtain timing advance records in November of 2022 by obtaining AT&T timing advance records for 3,800 mobile devices, none of them being the defendant's. Again, the state is saying there was a retention period of 7 days from the date. There's a 7-day retention period or whatever. So they didn't request Bryan Kohberger's stuff in November. They requested it in December. I think hopefully we get this all cleared up. We'll figure it out later. So I'm going to get to the end. There's like quite a tongue lashing. Well, it's not really a tongue lashing. It's more like a typewriter lashing or a computer keyboard lashing. In my nearly 30 years of working with and for prosecutors all over the U.S., I've never witnessed such a deliberate attempt by prosecutors to mislead the court on evidence in such plain sight. Anyone making such a claim would have to believe the court is incapable of reviewing physical evidence in possession of the state and the defense. It rises to a level beyond a simple miscommunication or oversight and is clear and intentional misrepresentation in the hopes to conceal a much larger issue. I would like to know what he means by that. I respectfully request the court give this affidavit the due attention it deserves and explore these issues further. Also, the defense wants him to testify at the hearing on April 9th, and the judge already said, no, I don't need to hear from him. And I don't need to hear from the Amazon guy either on the click activity from the defense. He said, have them ready to go on live stream if I need to hear from them, is basically what he said. He said, I don't need to hear, Judge Hippler said, they don't need to come here and I don't need to hear from them, have them file a declaration, but they can testify by live stream if we need them to. But this is basically calling out the state and saying, you could get this data and you didn't get it. But again, there's this retention period issue. So that's the issue. Was the data available, or do they have it in their possession and they just haven't turned it over? We don't know. We don't know. So that's that. So we're going to have to figure out who's right and who's wrong. It may not be that anybody's fibbing or lying or not telling the truth. It may simply be that, is this whole retention period issue accurate? Is it accurate that these records, the timing advance records, were only held for 7 days back in 2022 or not? We don't know. Excuse me, guys. Sorry, guys. I mentioned earlier I've been a little under the weather, so I'm coughing a little bit and stuff like that. So there you go. So the defense says there's a 7 minutes of critical time in this case, and they believe it's exculpatory and will help Bryan Kohberger. All right, let's move on now to the other stuff. And the other stuff is this paper that is the state wants to introduce at Bryan Kohberger's trial. And I'm not sure how I feel about this because he was a criminology student, right? He's a student in criminology. And so he would have been studying all kinds of stuff about criminals and criminology. That's all there is to it. So let's get in here and take a look. There's also some new timeline kind of information contained in a lot of this stuff. Like, we now know that the DoorDash was delivered to Trillyfly says, my husband and I said, I think she has the cold the other day. Very perceptive. Yes. I started getting this horrible cold and then sounded awful Thursday and Friday. I started picking up the cold Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday and Friday and yesterday, my voice was like a hot mess. My throat is still kind of sore. So I'm just trying to get over it, right? But it's easier said than done. So basically, the state wants to introduce this paper that Bryan Kohberger wrote in I make that a little bigger. May 5th, 2020, crime scene scenario final. This is when he was an undergrad at DeSales University. And it was with Professor Sipe. And the state says, we want to introduce this at trial to show that he has knowledge of crime scenes and how crime scenes are handled. Of course, he has knowledge of crime scenes and how crime scenes are handled. He's getting a PhD in criminology. So I'm kind of like, well, duh. You know, and this is very detailed. It's a 12-page paper. It was a final paper, and it's not written like a typical paper. It's almost like, I remember when I was in college, when we had to write papers and you were told they had to be a certain length, you were like, oh God, really? Oh, like 10-page paper. I still have dreams to this day about having to, oh my God, I had to write this paper. Did I write the paper? Did I graduate from college? It's ridiculous. So, I literally started reading this and it's like, it's almost like you had questions or had little things that you had to do. Like the teacher gave you the assignment and then you had to write out bullet points for how you were going to do it. And so this is the crime scene scenario final paper that Bryan Kohberger wrote. And I hesitate to call it a paper because it's written in bullet points. So arriving at the crime scene, the first thing you have to do is block it off to prevent contamination. And a lot of these things are things that like anybody who would watch a crime show would know. Go to CrimeCon, people know how to do all this stuff, right? Talks about the theory of transfer, states that we bring something with us to the crime scene and take something away, thus skewing the crime scene from the original state by contamination. This is because the original state of the crime scene was left by the criminal suspect. A lack of contamination allows the scene to be a snapshot in time. Of course. The curious must be noted and immediately evicted from the scene. The curious people to be kept out of the scene include unauthorized civilians and any more than the absolute minimum number of law enforcement agents and forensic crime processors. Waiting for backup to arrive, I should stand guard at the scene, preventing these unauthorized people and even holding back eager officers from entering the scene. I must call my immediate supervisor and inform them of the deceased white female who is approximately 35 years of age. Okay. So we have a scenario where there's a white female who's 35. I must obtain an initial search warrant to search the scene. Failing to do so will mean the evidence is inadmissible. This is another reason why holding personnel from entry is key. Call the coroner. These are all very basic things. So he's showing he knows what to do when investigating a crime scene. So that this murder, this homicide took place in a trailer park. So there were 62 trailers in the trailer park. If there is anyone in the trailer, they should be moved out and questioned. Does she have kids? I should gather the following information in my notes as the investigation commences, which will later be included in my preliminary case report when the details of the case culminate. The offense, time of day, date and time of the offense is, if known, ID of the victim, location of the offense. Since the offender was not there, I would be unable to record this information initially, and the specifics of the crime won't be known until confirmed by the crime lab. I'm going to skip over some of these things because they're just so this is like basic crime scene investigation 101 kind of stuff. Now, granted, this was CJ 361, 300 level course. But I remember when I lived in Wisconsin, I moved up there for my first reporting job, and I was bored to tears, like I didn't know anybody. I was just trying to make contacts up there work-wise and stuff like that, and there was just nothing to do. It was so cold, and I did a citizens police academy, and they did all kinds of stuff with us. Like we did self-defense, and they taught us how to process a crime scene. So that was kind of cool. They actually taught us how to lift fingerprints. So I think I could, like, right now, if I really wanted to, and I'm not saying I would be really great at it, but I think if I wanted to, I could, like, put a print on a mirror or something like that and then go lift it with, like, some, like, makeup powder and some tape. I totally could do it, or at least I could try. I don't know how good it would be, but they taught us how to lift fingerprints, so that was kinda cool. All right, equipment I will have on hand for the investigation. Crime toolkit containing 35 millimeter camera. That's so funny. Like, sounds like film, or digital camera capable of videotaping with an adequate supply of film and power, portable lighting system, assorted steel tape measures that can reach 25 feet, a ruler, latent fingerprinting equipment, gloves to protect the scene from contamination. This will enable that I avoid leaving my latent fingerprints, forceps and small tweezers, and a pair of scissors, a small saw to take evidence, for example, drywall. I mean, these are all like things that they learned in their class, I'm sure. And they at DeSales, they have, and they have it at a lot of colleges with criminal justice programs. They have like a place with mock crime scenes, um, like rooms that are crime scenes. So they teach the students like what to look for in a crime scene to see what's important and stuff like that. They stage a crime scene. Evidence tape, protective clothing, boot covers, eyewear, fiber-free overalls, face masks, hairnets, gowns, anything that will prevent me from contaminating the scene with things I bring with me. A blue light with yellow glasses, which makes small trace evidence more visible. Blah, 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 blah. Entering the home for crime scene documentation and initial photography, videography. Talking about entering with a search warrant. He talks about ensuring that he and his fellow crime scene personnel are wearing gloves and other protective equipment as to avoid contaminating the scene with latent fingerprints. A fiber-free boot cover would also be ideal to avoid leaving physical footprints or residue from the boot. Anything that is fiber-free and covers the mouth, hair, and overall body would be helpful in avoiding crime scene contamination, since hair, saliva, skin cells, and other bodily fluid or cells may be added to the scene, thus contaminating it. So, he's aware of DNA shedding and how that works. We should always treat the crime scene as if it is indeed a criminal homicide, as to not miss out on important details. That's how this crime scene is being handled. And that's true. I mean, I remember when I worked in local news and we'd go to death scenes, even if they thought it might be like a suicide or something like that, they were always taught, the cops were always like, we treated everything like it's a homicide, because until you know it's not, you treat it like a homicide. Iris Hewlett says, I recommend after this podcast to read the full affidavit of Cyree. He's not risking his career. No, I did read it. I read it twice. I just wasn't going to read I went to like what I thought were the big key points. Yeah, Beautiful Messy Ball says they have an entire crime scene house at DeSales. Yes. Let's see. Looking through your comments right now. Iris Hewlett says that won't matter once it's proven exculpatory evidence was withheld from prosecutor and judge. What Cyree full affidavit supports matters more. Right. I mean, we need to figure out whether or not what he's saying is true. And if he can go to this other guy or this other way to get the timing advance records, if he's indeed correct, and it wasn't this 7-day retention period back in December of 2022, and they have that info, then there's a problem. That's a huge problem. And his defense is entitled to that information if the state has it in its possession. Even if they don't have it in their possession, they have a duty to go get it. So, Free Spirit asks, do you think Dylan would be able to identify Bryan with the mask on? And do you know if he took a polygraph? Thank you. I don't know that, and they're not admissible in court, but he did ask for a lawyer after being questioned for a short time. I know that. And I don't believe she would be able to identify him because she couldn't. That's been stated in many court documents that she could not identify him. Let's see. Let's get back. So yeah, all of this stuff, like, I mean, I look at this and it's just like typical crime scene investigation stuff. Like, this is like, I think he was an undergraduate when this was written. And I think anybody in that program would have done the same thing, would have written the same thing. I did reach out to DeSales and they said this was a typical assignment. So this was an assignment for this class, and it says final. So this was a final paper. So there was a crime scene sketch that they were assigned. Let's see. Talks about the deceased woman's living room, who should be photographed under adequate lighting from a long view. Specific shots should be focused on the evidence of harm on her body and clothing, the bruises on her face, the marks on her neck, the bloody shirt, and any other signs of postmortem lividity should be photographed and taped without moving the victim. A measurement marker should be placed next to her. This will show if an offender moved the woman as to manipulate the crime scene. Does she have defense wounds? Are there hesitation marks on her related to the knife? Or are there multiple stab wounds? These must be photographed and taped. I did ask the DeSales spokesperson, I said, was this scenario given to all of the students, the woman being stabbed, the 35-year-old woman? And they didn't answer my question. Like, I don't know if each student came up with their own scenario or if each student was given the same scenario. They gave me very limited information. Is the mark on her neck related to the hanger near her? The photographs make it sure that these items were indeed present at the crime scene. Most of these questions are speculated until absolutely confirmed by the forensic medical examiner, who can use scientific equations to determine the approximate time of death. So, I mean, to me, this is all stuff Like, this just to me seems like, of course, he has knowledge of crime scenes. He was a criminal justice guy. Well, I guess he was in psychology or something, and then did criminology, took a criminal justice class. Talks about making a sketch, all of that stuff. So I don't know what you guys think about that, but if this was like a typical assignment, I mean, yeah, I mean, to me, like, you could just say he's like majoring in criminal justice, or he was a criminology PhD student. Like, to me, it's like, to me, it's very much like, well, yeah, of course he knows about crime scenes. What do you guys think? Crypto Catherine says, do we know what grade he received on this assignment? We don't. So Kohberger was jealous of average-looking, hard-drinking, immature college girls. Okay, now I get it. I don't know that to be true at all. Beautiful Messy Ball says it disputes his defense claims that his autism prevents him from understanding the crime and participating in his defense. Oh, you believe this paper shows that? Because we haven't even gotten to the autism stuff yet. The autism stuff was pretty interesting, the latest stuff they filed. Sherry Rhodes says, what happened to the police's early claim that the killer had connected to the house Wi-Fi? Nowhere has that been entered into evidence along with the other claims without evidence. Sherry, the police never said that. I believe one of the victim's parents said that, but the police have never been quoted as saying that, and that's never been verified at all. So I think we need to clear that up. Let's see. I'm going through all your questions. Harlot Oscara says, I read all Cyray's affidavits. He never acknowledges, never mind disputes the fact that AT&T only kept timing advance records for 7 days in 2022. See, that's the thing. If the retention period was only 7 days in 2022, then the state probably doesn't have those records for Kohberger's phone. So that's the question. That's like the $64 million question. Is that the case, that the retention period at that time was indeed 7 days? That makes sense then as to why they don't have that information. But he's saying there's this other way that you can get it. So which one is it? So anyway. So guys, I really appreciate you tuning in tonight. It's been a lot of fun. There's still a lot more to talk about, but I think we're going to wrap it up for tonight. And I really, as I said, appreciate you joining me. And remember to like and subscribe. And if you're watching on replay, thank you so, so much. I think we're going to have to come back because there's a lot more that we need to talk about. Still a lot more. I don't know if there will be any more paper flying around this week because there's going to be that hearing on April 9th. But there are other things that I still haven't gotten into that I think we need to get into. So we will do that one day this week. How does everybody feel about that? Is there any night that works better for some people more than others? I'm trying to think about my week and what night I might be able to hop on here and do a live. Okay, guys. Sherry Rhodes, yes, they have. I'll include that in the next live. So again, remember, guys, like and subscribe, and come back. And again, thanks for watching, and watch on replay. And I'll see you again here soon. I'll schedule this out, and I'll make a list. I'll make a list of things that we need to talk about for next time. And also, in the comments, put some stuff in that you want me to. Jeff C., I'm challenging Angie to list top 5 bad facts for the prosecution next live. Okay, well, I will try to come up with that. But please let me know, guys, in the comments, some topics you'd like me to cover in the next one, and we can do that. And I'll make my own little list, and we'll be back here. We'll do this again one night this week, maybe two. And if there are other cases you want me to talk about, let me know and we'll do that. So I'll see you later. Bye.